hold my hand. Keep moving.
It's coming down!
We have to go faster.
Two cities stood in a valley so rich it almost defied belief. Cities drowning in luxury, yet starving for righteousness. They had everything a civilization could desire. Their fields yielded crop after crop without fail. Their storehouses overflowed with grain, oil, and wine. 3 harvests each year filled their markets with abundance. The land itself seemed to smile upon them. But something strange happens when blessing is no longer received with humility. Gratitude fades, hearts harden. Comfort becomes entitlement, and entitlement, left unchecked, becomes cruelty. The poor knocked on heavy wooden doors and heard the bolts slide shut from the inside. Travelers who once would have been welcomed with bread and water were now treated with suspicion and scorn. The streets that should have echoed with generosity instead echoed with laughter at the weak. Inside those thick city walls, every form of corruption found room to grow. And the cries of those crushed beneath that corruption rose steadily upward until heaven itself took notice. Then came fire. Only one man was pulled from the destruction. Only one family was let out before the sky rained judgment. And one woman, unable to let go of what she was leaving behind, turned her head for one final glance and paid with her life. This is not merely a tale buried in ancient scripture. It is a warning about where unchecked prosperity leads when conscience is silenced, and it may be more relevant now than ever. Let us begin at the beginning. There was a time when humanity shared one language, one vocabulary, one understanding. People gathered together on a vast plain and decided they would build something that would define them forever. Let us construct a city, they said, and a tower that reaches into the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves. It was ambition without submission, pride disguised as unity. God came down to see what they were building. No army had marched against them, no enemy threatened their walls. Yet God did something no invading force could ever accomplish. He reached into their minds and scrambled their speech. A bricklayer called out instructions, and the man beside him stared back in confusion. Fathers spoke to sons and received only strange sounds in reply. Arguments ignited instantly. Workers shouted over one another, each convinced the other had lost his senses. Coordination collapsed, leadership dissolved. Frustration boiled into chaos. The great tower stood unfinished as humanity scattered in confusion. Groups wandered in different directions, unable to understand one another, forced to find new beginnings in unfamiliar lands. Some traveled for weeks, others for months. They crossed deserts where the sun burned their skin and dried their waterskins to emptiness. They buried loved ones in the sand and wondered whether any destination could justify the journey. Eventually, one group descended into a valley unlike anything they had seen before, the Jordan Valley. Green stretched as far as the eye could see. Rivers glistened under the sun. The soil was soft and dark. After endless dust and death, this place looked like rebirth itself. "We have wandered long enough," they said. "Here we begin again." They pitched tents beside the water. They planted seeds. The ground responded with generosity beyond expectation. Crops grew thick and strong. Livestock multiplied. Years turned into generations. From that valley rose 5 cities: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Zoar. Each had its own ruler, each had its own defenses, but 2 rose above the rest. Sodom became the center of political power. Its king oversaw the shaping of countless mud bricks stacked into walls nearly 5 meters thick. A 4-story palace towered above the city center. From its rooftop, the king surveyed an empire of comfort. Sodom possessed something remarkable: 2 natural springs within its walls, one warm, one cold. Water flowed directly into homes. Security and convenience blended seamlessly. "Let others farm and trade," its leaders boasted. "Sodom commands." Gomorrah, meanwhile, became the commercial heartbeat of the valley. Its markets stretched for blocks. Merchants from distant lands, Egypt, Babylon, and beyond, crowded its streets. Caravans arrived daily with spices, fabrics, precious metals. If Sodom represented authority, Gomorrah represented wealth. Every road eventually led to its gates. Every transaction passed through its hands. The remaining 3 cities supported the giants. They cultivated grain, raised animals, and relied on Sodom's protection and Gomorrah's trade networks. Together, they formed a coalition of prosperity. 3 harvests each year, overflowing storehouses, ease of living. And yet, prosperity casts a shadow. With abundance came arrogance. The wealthy walked the streets as though they themselves had invented the fertile soil. Gratitude disappeared. The valley was no longer seen as a gift. It was viewed as a right. "We built this," they said. "We owe nothing to anyone." Compassion withered. The poor were ignored. Widows were dismissed. Foreigners were treated as intruders. "Why should we share what is ours?" they reasoned. Then morality eroded. Behaviors once hidden in shame were flaunted openly. Power was abused. Judges protected the guilty. The strong preyed upon the weak without fear of consequence. Every form of wickedness found shelter behind those walls. And the cries of those harmed rose relentlessly toward heaven. While the valley descended into darkness, a man named Lot was making a decision that would define his future. Lot traveled with his uncle Abraham, a man called by God to leave his homeland and journey toward a promise. God blessed them both richly. Their flocks multiplied, their tents spread across the land. But prosperity created tension. Their herdsmen argued over grazing land and wells. Abraham intervened gently. "Let there be no conflict between us. The land lies before you. Choose where you will go. I will take what remains." Lot lifted his eyes toward the east. He saw the Jordan Valley, lush, promising, prosperous. Opportunity shimmered before him. He chose the valley. Abraham settled among the hills. Lot pitched his tent near Sodom. At first, he kept distance, close enough to benefit, far enough, he believed, to remain untouched. But distance shrinks gradually. Nearness becomes familiarity. Familiarity becomes residence. Soon, Lot lived inside the city. Then war erupted. 4 eastern kings attacked the valley and carried Lot away captive. Abraham pursued them with a small force and rescued his nephew. Lot was free. He could have remained in the hills with Abraham. Instead, he returned to Sodom. Comfort pulled harder than caution. One day, as Abraham sat beneath the oaks of Mamre, 3 figures approached. They appeared as travelers. Abraham hurried to greet them, bowed low, and insisted they rest. He offered water for their feet, shade beneath a tree, fresh bread prepared from fine flour, a tender calf from his herd, milk and curds. He stood nearby as they ate, ready to serve. It was hospitality in its purest form, the opposite spirit of Sodom. Then one of the visitors revealed something extraordinary. Sarah, Abraham's elderly wife, would bear a son within a year. Sarah laughed quietly in disbelief. "Is anything too difficult for the Lord?" the visitor asked.
Soon, the conversation shifted toward Sodom. "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great," the Lord said. "Their sin is severe." Abraham's thoughts raced to Lot. Would the righteous perish alongside the wicked? He stepped forward cautiously. "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if 50 righteous people are found there?" God agreed to spare the city for 50. Abraham lowered the number. 45, 40, 30, 20, 10. Each time, God agreed. For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. Surely, Abraham thought, 10 could be found. But when 2 angels entered Sodom at evening, Lot sat at the city gate, a place of influence. He urged them strongly to stay in his home rather than sleep in the square. He knew the danger. Before night settled fully, men from every part of the city surrounded the house, young and old alike. No one objected. Their intentions were vile. Lot stepped outside, pleading with them not to act wickedly. They turned on him in fury. "This outsider dares to judge us?" they shouted. They surged toward the door. The angels intervened. A flash of brilliance struck the mob blind. The attackers stumbled helplessly. The verdict was sealed. "Gather your family," the angels told Lot. "We are going to destroy this place." Lot warned his sons-in-law. They laughed at him. Dawn approached. Lot hesitated. The angels seized his hands, along with his wives and daughters, and led them outside. "Flee for your lives. Do not look back." Lot pleaded to escape to a small nearby town instead of the mountains. Permission was granted. As the sun rose, destruction fell. Burning sulfur rained from heaven. Walls collapsed, towers crumbled, palaces became graves. The valley that once resembled paradise became an inferno. Lot ran, his daughters ran, but his wife stopped. She turned. In that single glance backward, she revealed where her heart still rested. She became a pillar of salt. Lot reached Zoar with only his daughters. Behind him, smoke rose from a ruined landscape. The soil was poisoned. Nothing would grow there again. The next morning, Abraham looked toward the valley. Smoke billowed upward like from a furnace. The cities were gone. But Lot lived. God had remembered Abraham's prayer.
The lessons remain. Prosperity without gratitude invites corruption. Drifting toward compromise happens one small step at a time. Prayer can rescue more than we realize. Looking back can cost everything. Judgment is real, but mercy searches for someone to save. If you are drifting, stop now. If you are hesitating, move. If your heart clings to something God is asking you to leave behind, release it. And if someone you love is in danger, pray. The smoke has cleared over Sodom and Gomorrah, but the warning still stands, written in ash and salt for any willing to see. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe to The Secret of the Bible Hub and tell us, what story should we explore next?